Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, staring out at the horizon. Some people see only the waves crashing at their feet, the immediate, the now. But visionaries, they see beyond. They see the distant shores. They understand that the choices they make today determine the world they will live in tomorrow. Great leaders, game changers, and those who leave a lasting impact all share one thing in common. They think long term. They don't get distracted by quick wins. They don't seek immediate gratification. Instead, they plant seeds today that will bear fruit for years, even decades to come. Today, I want to share with you 10 fundamental principles that separate those who react from those who shape the future. A vision is not just a target to hit, it is a reason to move forward. It is not about chasing success for a year, it is about defining a future so compelling that it shapes everything you do. When people achieve extraordinary things, it is rarely because they had a perfect plan. It is because they had a vision so strong that no setback, no rejection, no obstacle could shake their resolve. A powerful vision is not built on numbers or short-term wins. It is something deeper, something that ignites a fire within. It is the thing that even on your worst days reminds you why you started. It is not about what you do, it is about why you do it. And when that why is strong enough, the how will always find a way. The challenge is most people start with goals. They chase milestones, thinking that hitting a target will bring fulfillment. But goals without vision are like a ship without a compass, easily tossed around by every wave of distraction, fear, or doubt. When things get hard, when the excitement fades, when obstacles appear, goals alone are not enough to keep you moving. It is vision that sustains you. It is vision that gives you the resilience to stand up every time you fall. The most influential leaders, the most successful innovators, the most impactful individuals, what they have in common is not luck, talent, or even intelligence. It is an unshakable belief in something bigger than themselves. They do not just see what is in front of them, they see what could be. They wake up every day with a purpose so clear that no amount of failure can shake it. But vision alone is not enough. It must live in your actions. It must be reinforced every day. The greatest tragedy is not lack of talent, but lack of clarity. Without a vision, people drift. They jump from one thing to the next, always searching but never finding. They burn out not because they are working too hard, but because they are working without meaning. The moment you define your vision, everything changes. Decisions become easier, distractions lose their power, obstacles become part of the process instead of reasons to quit. The road ahead may be long, but with a clear vision, every step has purpose. The world does not need more people chasing goals for the sake of achievement. It needs people with the courage to stand for something, to believe in something so deeply that others cannot help but be inspired by it. So ask yourself, what is the future you are building? What is the vision that will sustain you through the struggles, the failures, the moments of doubt? Because when you have a vision that truly matters to you, nothing can stop you. And when you lead with that vision, others will follow, not because of what you do, but because they believe in why you do it. Most people approach life as if it's a race, as if the goal is to cross some imaginary finish line before everyone else. They chase short-term victories, quick wins, immediate gratification. But what happens when the race is over? What happens when the moment of victory fades? Too many people spend their lives sprinting toward a goal, only to realize too late that they were running in the wrong direction. The most successful and fulfilled people understand that the real game is infinite. There is no finish line. There is no point where you've made it. The goal isn't to win, it's to keep playing, to keep growing, to keep pushing forward. This mindset shifts everything. Instead of measuring success by quarterly profits, social status, or fleeting achievements, those who play the infinite game focus on something bigger, on building something that lasts, on creating impact, on leaving a legacy that endures long after they're gone. This is why great leaders don't obsess over beating the competition today. They aren't worried about being number one for a moment. They think beyond the next deal, beyond the next promotion, beyond the next trend. They don't measure their worth by how much they've gained, but by how much they've contributed. Because in an infinite game, the real measure of success isn't whether you're ahead today, it's whether you're still in the game tomorrow. The problem with playing to win in the short term is that it forces compromises. It forces people to cut corners, to take the easy path, to make decisions that serve immediate gains at the expense of long-term sustainability. Companies that focus only on quarterly earnings often sacrifice innovation, culture, and long-term trust. Leaders who chase personal success without a greater vision often burn out, leaving nothing of real significance behind. But those who play the infinite game operate differently. They think in decades, not days. They invest in relationships, not just transactions. They make decisions that may not pay off immediately, but will create something meaningful over time. They don't panic when they face setbacks because they understand that failure is just a step in the process, not the end of the journey. This mindset is not just about leadership or business. It applies to every aspect of life, relationships, careers, personal growth. It's all part of the infinite game. The moment you stop focusing on short-term wins and start thinking about how to keep growing, how to keep contributing, how to keep showing up, you free yourself from the pressure of needing to win all the time. Instead, you begin to play with purpose. The question isn't whether you're winning. The question is, are you building something that lasts? Are you making choices that will keep you in the game for years, not just for today? Because the people who truly make a difference in this world are not the ones who burn bright and fade fast. They are the ones who commit to playing, learning, and growing for a lifetime. Every day, we are faced with choices. Some seem small, insignificant, what to eat, how to spend an afternoon, whether to hit snooze one more time. Others feel monumental, what career to pursue, whom to trust, when to take a leap of faith. But regardless of size, every decision has something in common. It shapes the future. The problem is most people make decisions based on what feels good now, not what will serve them later. They chase comfort, convenience, the easiest path forward, and in doing so, they sacrifice something far more valuable, their future. The greatest leaders, the most successful individuals, they operate differently. They don't just think about today, they think about 10, 20, 50 years from now. They ask themselves a simple but powerful question: will this choice bring me closer to the future I want, or will it hold me back? Because the right decision isn't always the easiest one. The right decision often requires discipline. It requires patience. It requires resisting the temptation of instant gratification in favor of something greater. We live in a world that celebrates speed, quick wins, fast results, immediate success. That's what people chase. But those who truly build something meaningful understand that success is not about how fast you can get somewhere, but about whether you are heading in the right direction. A decision made in haste without thought for the future can cost years of progress. A decision made with clarity, with intention, can create a foundation that lasts a lifetime. The difference between people who thrive and those who struggle isn't talent or intelligence. It's the ability to think beyond the present moment. It's the ability to make a hard choice today so that tomorrow is better. It's the willingness to invest time, energy, and effort in things that don't offer an immediate reward but will pay dividends in the long run. It's why the best leaders develop people instead of using them. It's why the strongest relationships are built on trust, not convenience. It's why the most successful individuals choose to grow even when no one is watching. This isn't just about business, it's about life. It's about choosing health over indulgence. It's about choosing integrity over shortcuts. It's about choosing purpose over momentary pleasure. Every decision, no matter how small, is a vote for the kind of future we want to create. And the truth is, the people who build extraordinary lives are not the ones who got lucky. They are the ones who made decisions with the future in mind, day after day, year after year, until those choices compounded into something remarkable. So the question is not what feels good right now. The question is, what will I be proud of 5 years from now? Because when you make decisions from that perspective, you stop chasing what's easy and you start building what's lasting. And that is the difference between a life of regret and a life of purpose. Too often people measure success by numbers, how much revenue they generate, how many deals they close, how quickly they climb the ranks. But numbers don't build loyalty. Numbers don't inspire. Numbers don't create something that lasts. People do. And yet, in the rush to succeed, too many forget that business, leadership, and life itself are not about transactions, they are about relationships. Short-term thinkers focus on profits. They chase the next deal, the next win, the next opportunity to get ahead. But long-term thinkers understand something deeper. Trust is the most valuable currency in the world. It cannot be bought. It cannot be faked. It must be earned. And the only way to earn it is by investing in people, not because it's good for business, but because it's the right thing to do. Success is not built in a vacuum. Every great company, every thriving organization, every strong community exists because someone made the decision to prioritize people over personal gain. Leaders who inspire don't treat people as a means to an end. They listen, they care, they mentor, they create environments where others can grow. And in doing so, they build something far greater than a bottom line. They build trust, loyalty, and a culture that outlasts any single moment of success. In a world obsessed with speed and efficiency, kindness is often overlooked as a strategy. But those who understand the power of human connection know that a simple act of generosity today can open doors for years to come. The way you treat people when there's nothing to gain says everything about the kind of person you are. The truth is, people don't remember what you achieved. They remember how you made them feel. They remember whether you showed up when it mattered. They remember whether you saw them as individuals, not just assets. This applies to every aspect of life. The strongest leaders aren't the ones with the most authority. They're the ones who elevate others. The best businesses aren't the ones that make the most money. They're the ones that create the most value. The most meaningful lives aren't measured by personal success, but by the impact left on others. Some might argue that focusing on people over profits is impractical, that in a competitive world, there's no time for sentiment. But the irony is, those who invest in people don't just create stronger teams, more resilient businesses, and more meaningful lives. They also create success that endures. Because when people trust you, they support you. When people believe in you, they stand by you. And when people feel valued, they give their best. At the end of the day, money comes and goes. Achievements fade, but relationships, trust, and the impact we leave on others, that is what lasts. The question is not how much did I gain? The question is how many lives did I touch? Because that is the true measure of success. Most people believe success happens in a single life-changing moment, a breakthrough idea, a lucky opportunity, a bold leap that changes everything. But the truth is, success is never about one massive action. It's about the small, consistent choices made every single day. It's about the tiny steps that at first seem insignificant, but over time compound into something extraordinary. The greatest achievements in history were not built overnight. The strongest relationships weren't formed in a single conversation. The most skilled leaders didn't wake up one day with all the answers. Everything meaningful, every success, every breakthrough, every moment of mastery is the result of small, repeated actions that accumulate over time. Just like drops of water carve through rock, tiny choices shape the trajectory of our lives. The challenge is that most people don't see results fast enough, so they quit. They read for a week and don't feel smarter. They work out for a month and don't see a transformation. They save a little money and feel like they're getting nowhere. And because they don't see instant results, they assume their efforts don't matter. But that's not how progress works. Consistency is the great multiplier. It takes time for efforts to compound. Read one book a month, and in 10 years, you'll have consumed the knowledge of 120 books. Save a little every day, and over decades, you'll build wealth. Show up for your team, your family, your dreams day after day, and you will create something that cannot be undone. The power is not in the intensity. It's in the discipline to keep going, even when the results aren't immediately visible. There's a reason why the best athletes train daily, even when there's no competition in sight. There's a reason why the most successful people have routines that may seem mundane, but never waver. They understand that it's not about what you do once in a while, it's about what you do every day. It's about forming habits that align with the future you want, knowing that over time, those habits will shape who you become. This applies to every area of life. A single conversation won't build trust, but showing up consistently will. One act of kindness won't change a relationship, but repeated acts will. One bold decision won't make you successful, but the discipline to take small, courageous steps every day will. The question is never about whether you can achieve something great. The question is whether you are willing to commit to the small actions required to get there. Because the truth is, those who succeed are not the ones who wait for the perfect moment. They are the ones who take small, imperfect steps over and over again until those steps lead to something extraordinary. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid failure. They see it as something to be feared, something to be ashamed of, something that defines their worth. But the people who truly shape the future, the ones who change the game, don't run from failure, they embrace it. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success, it's a necessary part of the journey. Every great leader, every innovator, every person who has ever made a lasting impact has failed, often, repeatedly. The difference is they didn't let those failures stop them. They didn't see them as proof that they weren't good enough or smart enough. Instead, they used failure as fuel. They learned from it, they adapted, they grew, and most importantly, they kept going. The problem is that we've been taught to fear failure from a young age. We've been conditioned to believe that mistakes mean we're not capable, that setbacks are signs we should quit, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The reality is, failure is the greatest teacher we will ever have if we're willing to listen. Some of the most successful people in history failed on a massive scale before they ever succeeded. They were rejected, ridiculed, and doubted. But instead of letting those moments define them, they chose to keep moving forward. Not because they weren't afraid, but because they understood something most people don't. Failure is data. It's feedback. It's information that tells us what works, what doesn't, and what we need to do differently. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't fall once and decide, maybe walking isn't for me. They don't take failure personally. They get up, try again, and adjust until they figure it out. And yet somewhere along the way, we lose that instinct. We start believing that failure is final, but it's not. The only thing that makes failure permanent is giving up. The most resilient people aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail and keep going. They're the ones who get knocked down and stand back up. They're the ones who refuse to let a single moment define their entire story. And that is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. So the question is not, what if I fail? The question is, what will I learn when I do? Because if you're doing anything worthwhile, anything bold, anything that pushes boundaries, you will fail. That's a given. But what matters is what you do next. Will you let it defeat you, or will you use it to grow? Will you run from it, or will you embrace it as a stepping stone to something greater? Because the truth is, the only real failure is never trying at all. Too often, we find ourselves chasing validation. We seek approval, recognition, and applause, as if external praise is the measure of our worth. In a world dominated by likes, shares, and fleeting attention, it's easy to believe that success is about how many people know your name. But real impact, the kind that lasts, is never about fame. It's about the difference you make. Fame is temporary, applause fades, the crowd moves on, but the work you do, the lives you touch, the people you lift up, that's what remains long after the spotlight is gone. The most influential leaders, the ones who truly change the world, don't focus on being admired. They focus on contributing. They aren't chasing attention, they're chasing purpose. The irony is that those who set out to be famous rarely leave a lasting legacy. Because when recognition is the goal, the focus shifts to short-term wins, to doing what is popular rather than what is right. But those who focus on service, on building something bigger than themselves, on pouring into others, those are the people whose impact lasts for generations. Think about the people who have influenced your life the most. Chances are they weren't the loudest voices or the most celebrated figures. They were the ones who showed up, the ones who believed in you, the ones who, whether in big ways or small, made a difference. That's the power of legacy. It's not about the size of the audience. It's about the depth of the impact. Too many people spend their lives chasing approval, only to realize too late that applause is hollow. It feels good in the moment, but it doesn't sustain you. Because no matter how much recognition you receive, there will always be someone who doesn't approve, always another mountain to climb, always another level of validation to seek. And if that's what drives you, you will never feel like you've arrived. But when your focus shifts from applause to legacy, everything changes. Suddenly, it's not about being seen, it's about making a difference. It's not about being the best in the world, it's about being the best for the world. And when that becomes the goal, you stop worrying about who is watching. You stop measuring success by the number of followers or the volume of praise. Instead, you measure it by the lives you touch, the problems you solve, the people you empower. The greatest leaders, the ones who leave a true mark, are not the ones who crave recognition. They are the ones who do the right thing when no one is watching. They are the ones who show up, who give, who contribute, not because they want applause, but because they want to leave the world better than they found it. At the end of your life, no one will remember how many likes you had. No one will talk about how many people cheered for you. What they will remember is the way you made them feel, the way you lifted them up, the way you used your time, your talents, and your influence to create something that lasts. And that is the only measure of success that truly matters. In a world that moves at lightning speed, where instant gratification is the norm and overnight success stories dominate headlines, it's easy to believe that faster is always better, that the sooner we achieve, the sooner we win, that if we don't move quickly, we'll be left behind. But here's the truth. What is built too fast often falls apart just as quickly. The most enduring companies, the strongest relationships, the greatest leaders, none of them were built overnight. They were built through patience, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to the long game. Because true success isn't about how fast you can get there. It's about whether you can stay there. The challenge is that we live in a culture obsessed with speed. We celebrate the startup that skyrockets in valuation, the athlete who rises to fame overnight, the influencer who gains millions of followers in a matter of months. But what we don't talk about enough is how many of those same businesses collapse, how many of those rising stars burn out, how many of those quick wins turn into long-term losses. Because speed alone doesn't build anything meaningful, sustainability does. Sustainability requires discipline. It requires resisting the urge to take shortcuts in favor of building something that will last. It means being willing to lay the foundation before trying to build the skyscraper. It's why the best leaders don't just think about the next quarter, they think about the next decade. It's why the strongest relationships aren't formed in a single grand gesture, but in the consistency of showing up day after. It's why the most successful individuals aren't just chasing rapid results, they're building systems that will carry them forward for a lifetime. Some of the most iconic brands in history weren't the fastest growing in their early years. They took time to refine their vision, to build trust, to create something truly valuable. And because they focused on sustainability over speed, they are still here today, while many of their once faster competitors are long gone. This applies to everything we do. A career built in a rush often leads to burnout. A company that prioritizes short-term wins over long-term value often struggles to survive. A leader who makes decisions based only on immediate gains risks compromising the very foundation they stand on. But those who embrace the long game, who focus on sustainable growth, who understand that anything worth having takes time, those are the ones who build something that lasts. So the question isn't how fast can I get there? The question is how can I build something that endures? Because at the end of the day, it's not about how quickly you reach success. It's about whether you can hold on to it once you do. And the only way to do that is through patience, discipline, and a relentless commitment to sustainability over speed. The world never stands still. It evolves, it shifts, it reinvents itself. Technology advances at an unimaginable pace. Entire industries transform overnight. What was once cutting edge becomes obsolete, and what seemed impossible yesterday is now the new standard. And yet, too many people cling to what they know, believing that what worked in the past will continue to work in the future. But the moment you stop learning, the moment you stop evolving, you don't just stand still, you start falling behind. The greatest leaders, the most successful individuals, the most resilient organizations all share one thing in common. They never stop learning. They stay curious. They embrace change instead of fearing it. They don't see uncertainty as a threat, but as an opportunity. Because the ones who shape the future aren't the ones who resist change. They're the ones who adapt to it. The challenge is that learning requires humility. It requires the ability to say, I don't know everything. And that's okay. It means admitting that just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't mean it's the best way. It means letting go of old ways of thinking, even when they're comfortable. And that's hard. It's uncomfortable, but growth only happens when we're willing to stretch ourselves beyond what we already know. Think about the companies that once dominated their industries but failed to adapt. Blockbuster, Kodak, BlackBerry. At one time, they were pioneers, leaders, untouchable, but they became too comfortable. They stopped evolving. They believed their success was permanent. And by the time they realized the world had moved on, it was too late. Contrast that with the companies that have stood the test of time, not because they were the biggest or the most powerful, but because they embraced change. They learned, they adapted, and they stayed ahead, not by resisting the future, but by shaping it. This isn't just about business. It applies to every part of life. The strongest relationships are built on growth, not stagnation. The most successful careers belong to those who keep developing their skills, even when they don't have to. The happiest people are the ones who remain curious, who never stop exploring, who approach life with a sense of wonder rather than a belief that they already have all the answers. The truth is, we all have a choice. We can hold on to what we know, hoping that the world will slow down and wait for us. Or we can commit to learning, to evolving, to staying ahead, not just for the sake of survival, but for the opportunity to lead, to innovate, to make a real impact. Because the future belongs to those who are willing to grow. It belongs to those who refuse to be left behind. It belongs to the learners, the doers, the ones who understand that adaptation isn't just an advantage, it's the only way forward. There comes a moment in life when we realize that success alone isn't enough. Money, titles, recognition, these things can motivate us for a while, but they will never truly fulfill us. Because fulfillment doesn't come from what we gain, it comes from what we give. It comes from knowing that our work, our effort, our time, and our energy are being poured into something greater than ourselves. The people who leave a lasting impact in this world don't just chase success, they chase significance. They don't just ask, what can I achieve? They ask, what difference can I make? Because at the end of the day, true success isn't measured by how much you have, but by how much you've contributed. It's not about climbing the highest mountain alone. It's about helping others rise with you. History remembers those who served a purpose beyond their own ambitions. The greatest leaders, the most influential thinkers, the pioneers of progress, they were all driven by something bigger than themselves. They didn't wake up every day simply trying to accumulate wealth or power. They were fueled by a vision, a mission, a deep desire to create change. And because of that, their impact didn't end when they did. It lived on. The challenge is that serving something greater requires shifting our mindset. It requires looking beyond personal gain and asking, who am I helping? What legacy am I building? It's not always the easiest path. It's not always the fastest path, but it is the only path that leads to real fulfillment. Think about the people in your own life who have inspired you the most. Chances are they weren't just focused on themselves. They lifted others up. They created opportunities. They left things better than they found them. That's what we all have the power to do, whether it's through the work we create, the teams we lead, the causes we support, or the people we mentor. We each have the ability to contribute to something that outlasts us. And the irony is, when we stop chasing personal success and start serving a greater purpose, success has a way of following us anyway. The businesses that prioritize people over profits build the most loyal customers. The leaders who put their teams first inspire the deepest trust. The individuals who dedicate their lives to something meaningful wake up every day with energy, passion, and a sense of purpose that no paycheck can replace. So the question isn't how successful can I be? The question is, what impact will I leave behind? Because at the end of our lives, we won't be remembered for how much money we made or how many awards we won. We'll be remembered for the lives we touched, the people we helped, and the difference we made. That is the true measure of success. That is what it means to live with purpose. The future doesn't belong to those who chase quick wins. It belongs to those who think beyond today, beyond this quarter, beyond this year. It belongs to those who dare to dream big, who build with patience, who persist through challenges, and who serve something greater than themselves. I'll leave you with this question. Are you thinking about your future, not just next week, not just next year, but the next decade, the next generation? Because if you are, then you're not just living in the future, you're creating it. And that is the mark of a true leader.